SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
You're listening to Sports Talk Mississippi On Demand, presented by Pearl River Resort. Escape to Choctaw, Mississippi and enjoy world-class gaming, the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, and Geyser Falls Water Park. Escape to Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi is on the air. Sports Talk Mississippi is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. To the junction, in the Grove, and to the top. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. On your radio and in the game, right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome in on this Wednesday, Sports Talk Mississippi. Brian Haydad is off for the next few days, as he explained to you guys yesterday. And I don't get it either. I don't understand exactly what the point of the trip he's making is, but he is on his way to Tampa for the English Premier League Soccer Fan Fest, which is a place where fans of select English Premier League soccer teams congregate to watch games. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. They get to go watch, Chelsea play in Tampa where the Bucks play, and that'll be great. No games. Not in person, anyway. They're going to gather at a convention center and watch games on television just like everybody else. But taking some time off, getting some fun in with some buddies. And I don't get it, but he doesn't get golf either. So joke's on both of us, I suppose.
So he's going from Mississippi to Florida to watch a athletic event happening in England.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Traveling to Florida to watch soccer on TV. Is what he's doing. So that voice you hear, of course, is Will East. And
I'm going to Montana later this year to watch a volleyball match. Watch it on TV.
Glad I did know people that went to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl and didn't watch the Sugar Bowl, but it was.
But that's different. That's happening in the city.
It was there. And then, of course, when the game was over, they got to go celebrate with like-minded people. Which, I guess technically they're doing that too, but that's what he's doing this weekend, and he's getting some time off, so we'll be with you for the next few days. Now, coming up tomorrow, I was telling Will about this earlier, our annual visit with Rob Paul, our draft guy. We're going to go for a full hour. That's what he said to me. He was going to give me a full hour. We're going to talk about Ole Miss players, state players, and then overall draft stuff. This is the fourth year he's done this with us at this point, backed by popular demand, and he will be thorough can be, as he always is. So looking forward to that. Although I think we talked about this earlier in the week, and somebody reminded us on the text line that he was not as high on Jackson Dart as some others were, and he'll tell you about this tomorrow. He got that one wrong. He thought that Dart was going to struggle a little bit, and obviously Jackson, for a bad Giants team, played really well a season ago. So he got that one wrong. They don't bat 1,000, but that's coming up tomorrow. Today, we got a lot to get to. There was something that John David Baker said in his media op that stood out to me related to that weird limbo that he was in where he was hired as the offensive coordinator, but he wasn't calling the plays for the games that were being played, but he was involved, and it's like a minute and 30 seconds is all it is, but I think the implications of what he talks about is something that we haven't talked about enough. If John David Baker was not there during that time, I'm not convinced that Deuce Alexander, Kejuan Lacey, etc. are still on the team. I think that was a valuable few weeks where he got to work with them. If Pete Golding had dragged his feet on a replacement hire for Charlie Weiss Jr., I think that things may have gone differently. So anyway, interesting clip. That's coming up later. We got baseball to talk about. Ole Miss beat Southern Miss down last night in Pearl. Mississippi State run rules Samford, so a good night there. We'll look around the SEC as well. And crazy enough, the biggest sports story of the day is the reporting. It is not official. It is not confirmed yet, but there is reporting that the Saudi Arabian government-backed golf league is no longer going to be backed by the Saudi Arabian government. They are reportedly about to pull their funding, which would, of course, destroy the league. I mean, they have no other revenue stream besides that. And, so we might get into that today as well. We are so glad you guys are with us in the Pearl River Resort studio. Pearl River Resort, where there is something for everyone. I don't think it's open yet, but Geyser Falls is going to be opening soon. My 6-year-old asks me every single day to take him to the water park. Literally every day to take him to Geyser Falls. That's coming soon, but if you're a golfer, you still have incredible spring weather right now. It will get hot in the summer. It's not hot yet. Go play Dancing Rabbit, 2 championship-level 18-hole courses there. You can play all of the games on the gaming floor. You can eat. You can stay. You can have fun. Have a Mississippi staycation. Check out their website as well. I saw the billboard earlier that Fluffy is making a return in August. One of the best comedians out there, truly. I know sometimes when these guys get so big that they get over-commercialized, he's not. He's awesome still, so he's worth your time. Check him out. PearlRiverResort.com is the website. And again, we are so glad that you guys are here. First text of the show is a guy sitting on the beach having a beer listening to us. So rub it in. Rub it in.
Must be nice.
Yeah. But we appreciate you being here. All right, let's start, though, with what happened in Pearl last night. Ole Miss, Southern Miss. So they met earlier this season. Obviously, as you guys know, Southern Miss getting the win in Hattiesburg by a final score of 2-1, a walk-off in that game. Ole Miss got their revenge in a big way over the Golden Eagles. 10-3 the final score. It kind of felt like for a little while that Ole Miss was going to run rule Southern Miss. Southern Miss got a couple of runs in the 7th to avoid that, to prevent that from being a larger conversation, I should say. But 11 hits from the Ole Miss lineup, including 4 from Becerra, who hit kind of a speed bump there over a couple of weeks. He was one of the hottest hitters in the country there for a period of time, was hitting close to 500, and obviously that's not sustainable, but he did have, I guess we can call it a mini slump, and he has gotten out of that. Did have a home run last night, a pair of RBIs as well. Utermark had a couple of hits. Furness had a couple of hits. Federico continues his ascension, at least his batting average ascension, up with a hit last night. Golden had a hit. Owen Pano had one, also apparently couldn't watch it, but apparently, according to David Kellum anyway, who was our eyes last night, was good in the field as well. Got a really good start from Robertson, his first of the season. He's a bullpen arm for Ole Miss, and 5 strikeouts, scattered 3 hits in 3 innings. It just shows you how deep, though, that this pitching staff is for Ole Miss. Mike Bianco can just, here's your first start, and he can absolutely shut Southern Miss down the way he did. They just have so many options there, and he was really good last night. On the flip side, Southern Miss, unfortunately for the Golden Eagles, are sliding backwards a little bit. This is a team that just lost another Sun Belt series, and they go to Starkville a couple weeks ago, and Mississippi State takes care of them, and now they face Ole Miss again, and Ole Miss beats them down pretty soundly. So these next few weekends coming up for Southern Miss, losing to Ole Miss at a neutral site is not going to kill them in any way, shape, or form. Not going to impact the RPI, but being kind of non-competitive last night is another example of they need to kind of figure some things out. Ostrander on Monday, you could tell, was a little frustrated with his baseball team, and I'm kind of being soft when I say that. He was kind of fired up about the way they've been playing lately. And you saw why last night. But for Ole Miss, look, it's one midweek game, but it is another game in a string of a couple of weeks where they are doing things differently now. They've pitched it well all season. We've talked about the pitching staff, but they scored 10 runs against a team that completely shut them down last time they saw them, and only one came via home run.
That's the thing, is they were relying on that 3-run, 2-run home run somewhere in there, and they haven't been doing that as much lately.
Ben says his home run just landed somewhere in the reservoir. No kidding. But that's it. That's what this. That's the thing that has changed seemingly with this team is they are, as Bianco told us on Monday, it's They're not trying to hit 500-foot, 6-run home runs right now. They're moving guys over. They're putting the ball in play. They're hitting it the opposite way. They're even doing some sacrificing mixed in there. The approach and the comfort at the plate, Udemark and Bissetta are going to be what they are, but again, Federico coming on has been huge for them, and Furness is doing a lot of really nice things. You can't shift on Furness. It's a bad mistake if you do, because he has shown the ability to spray it all over the yard. Ole Miss whooped Southern Miss last night, and their RPI moved up all the way to number 10. So, again, it's one midweek game. You don't want to get too high or too low after a result of a midweek game, but Ole Miss has just got a ton of momentum right now, and I mean, they look like a completely different baseball team than the one that lost to Memphis and then got swept by Mississippi State just 2 weeks ago, really. So, good win. Good win for Ole Miss last night. 601-879-4395 is the C Spire text line. You want to be a part of the show, that is how you can do it. Would love to hear from you. Let us know what you think about what happened last night. We'll look at the box score of Mississippi State Samford as well, and around the SEC. Sports Talk Mississippi, Pearl River Resort Studio. We'll be right back.
System is a go.
This is Sports Talk Mississippi, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Exactly.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky and Will East with you. Michael on the text line says, big problems in Ozland, and he doesn't seem to know how to right the ship. Yeah, it's a tough spot right now for Southern Miss to be in, because it's unfortunate. It's just, this is what Hayden and I talk about so often. The reality is, because they play in the Sun Belt, you have to be borderline perfect in order to host a regional. And obviously Southern Miss has hosted a lot. They've hosted super regionals lately. It's what they do. It's a fan base that cares. It's a venue that can support that kind of thing. But you can really ill afford to have a couple of bad weeks. Had a bad week at Arkansas State. Had a bad week last week. And also, when you look around the league and you see Coastal Carolina is basically perfect right now, it's going to be really hard for them to recover and get back into the hosting conversation. There's just not enough quality opponents on the schedule. They got one this weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend can help with Texas State. But it gets worse from there. And they got to figure it out quick. I don't know how realistic the hosting is anymore. But just because they've had a bad week, also have a couple of now unfortunate midweek losses, but just because they've had a bad week doesn't mean that they have suddenly become a bad team. But they really needed last night to go differently, I think, if they wanted to get back into the hosting conversation. And they did not. And now that you've got to really, again, basically be perfect in conference play if you want to get back into that. And that's an unfair ask of this team as of this moment.
Nearly half of the Sun Belt is under 500 or under in their overall record. And
I think we counted 3 sub-100 RPI weekend series upcoming for Southern Miss. That's not going to help at all. And so, again, last night's not going to hurt you. You needed it to help you, and it did. It did not.
Hey, at least they finished the game, though, because remember last year, couldn't finish the game.
The turf monster didn't get them.
It was so bad last year.
I do, I am somebody that likes that these teams go on the road. I like that Ole Miss basketball, for example, Chris Beard has made it a point to go to the coast. And to be honest with you, I think the crowds need to be better if you wanted to keep the team coming back to the coast. you folks down on the coast got to go to the games if you want that to be something that they continue to do. I know the matchup isn't particularly, a super attractive one. And also that happened around the time you had all of the football stuff going on, so it was hard to get excited about basketball when you're talking about planning a trip to Phoenix and the possibilities of where you're going for the playoffs. But I like that they do that. Mississippi State's gone to the coast in baseball, and they've been rewarded with good crowds. I like that this game comes to the capital city. Not everybody can make that trip up to Oxford or over to Starkville. It's especially for the midweek games, but it's something that, I like that happens. But last night, the game, you couldn't watch it. Now, we at SuperTalk appreciate you listening to it. Baseball is the best sport to listen to by far. So there was an option if you wanted to consume it. I did, and I had friends that listened to the game all night last night. And, you get a world-class broadcast with Kellum and Henderson there. But no video in 2026, and the crowds aren't as good as they used to be. And that's a declining thing. It's not a this-year problem. It's been a multi-year problem, and I hope those games aren't going away. But this is going to sound like I'm fan-shaming. I'm not, or fan-blaming, because I don't do either one of those things. If the game stops coming here, it's because fans stopped going to the game. Last night's crowd is telling the people involved in that game it's not worth it. If you want Ole Miss, if you want Southern Miss to keep coming to the Jackson area, you got to go. And if you don't go, don't be sad when they stop coming to the Jackson area.
And it wasn't a game where it was one team is ranked, the other's not. Both teams are ranked.
2 ranked teams going into last night. And the start time doesn't help. We heard yesterday on the text line about ticket prices being too high for a Tuesday game. It shouldn't cost a family of 4, $160 to go to this game.
To me, that's crazy.
That's too much. So there's a lot of issues there. But I want them to continue. The Governor's Cup's always going to be a thing. Somebody's going to take this the wrong way, I'm sure, but that crowd's always going to be good. But even that crowd, when I first moved here, now 12 years ago, it was insane. And the last couple have not been like that. Mm-hmm. There's been empty seats. The first Governor's Cup I went to was after I moved here. I didn't like the experience because there were so many people. You couldn't move. You couldn't get concession. You couldn't get beer. You couldn't get anything. You tried to walk around the stadium. There were so many people. It was over. It was that's what the crowd was like at the Governor's Cup. It wasn't like that last year. So I don't know what the future of these games are. I want them to continue, but the people aren't showing up like they used to.
Yeah.
And I hate pointing out a problem without offering a solution. I don't know what the solution is, but especially when you're not putting it, you got to find a video stream somehow. That's got to be part of your offering in 2026. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. You can watch middle school baseball games on video. Middle schools are offering video feeds of their baseball games because the technology is so easy and readily available, and, you can do it. We should have 2 ranked baseball teams on video stream when they play against each other.
As far as the crowd is concerned, I think it's pricing. I think it's, you said $160. By the time you throw concessions and all that kind of stuff, it's crazy.
And that is something that I can't figure out why people involved in these things have not figured that part of it out yet. I can't for the life of me figure out why people have not looked at, okay, our crowds aren't good. Our beers are $16. Those things maybe correlate with each other. My gosh. Somebody says, cheapest ticket my daughter could find was $45.
For a baseball game, that is outrageous.
For a midweek baseball game.
It's not a concert. you're not having to pay, royalties. You're not having to, or maybe a few here and there, but you're not having to pay for the people to come to the venue.
You don't have to set up a stage.
You don't have to do any of that.
And when a concert comes, I mean, a lot of you are going to make fun of me for this one, but, I mean, the Goo Goo Dolls are coming here. I'm going to pay a lot of money to go see them play because how often do they come here?
Yep.
So that's worth it to me. A Tuesday night game that starts at 6 o'clock is not worth $170 to me.
That is outrageous.
But apparently the GA tickets were $25. But still, think about it. Family of four, it's $100 to get in the door.
Yeah.
Just to get in. Paid $179 for two chairbacks last night.
When gas is nearly $4 a gallon, I'm sorry.
See, and that's another. I mean, people are having to make cuts, and
those are the things that get cut. A midweek baseball game is the type of thing that would get cut from a family's budget.
4 tickets behind home plate and related concessions. No alcohol, he says. $288 last night.
That's a hard sell.
That's a hard sell, man. And, I mean, I always make reference to this. The Atlanta Falcons cut concession prices on basic stuff. Slice of pizza, popcorn, soda, water. And they make more money on it than they ever did before. And what I hate is the people that are like, well, just eat before the game. I've got a 6-year-old. We could eat right before first pitch, and the second we get in our seats, Dad, I want this. I mean, there's no such thing as just eat before the game and you can survive 3 hours without it when you've got a family. There's no way. But the Falcons make more money when they cut how much it costs to buy basic stuff. And they did a whole presentation at SEC Media Days. They did a whole thing showing, like, hey, this is why we're making more money on concessions, and nobody paid attention to it.
That's what makes me angry, Michael, is when it's a hot dog, and you're charging $8 for it, and you know that your cost is 50 cents, if that.
601-879-4395. A lot of your messages are coming in on this. We'll read some more when we come back. The future of these games, should they continue? I hope so, but what do you guys think on the text line? Let us know.
From the Seabrook.com.
Mississippi. Sports Talk Mississippi.
Do you ever get so excited that you just can't wait?
Sports Talk Mississippi, covering your Mississippi teams.
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Don't touch that dial. Here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Michael Borky, Will East with you. Hey Dad's off until Tuesday of next week. Sports Talk Mississippi in the Pearl River Resort Studio. So glad that you guys are with us. Won't belabor the point, but a lot of your messages have come in on this topic in particular with these neutral site baseball games, but you guys are expanding it into other things as well. And whether or not they can, should, are going to continue, and whether or not you are going to continue to go considering the cost. We get this one. I'm not paying $160 plus, $40 or $50 more in food. I would love to go, but it's a family outing. If you're going to rip me for beer and concessions, at least give me a decent seat with a view for less than a power bill. Somebody says, not sure if Texas State still does it or not. They do $3 natty lights until they run out for football games. Imagine that happening in Oxford. Oh, yeah, especially when LSU comes.
Louisiana Lafayette used to do $2 natty light, and they rioted almost when they pushed the price up to $5.
There's an old video. I got to find it and send it to you, where they made drinking while driving illegal. So not drunk driving, but like having a beer while you're driving illegal. And it's a news story from like the 80s, whenever they decided to ban that. And it's just a bunch of Southern people like, man, next thing you know, I'm not going to, like, they're going to take my guns too. And people are furious that they can't.
Tyranny!
It's so funny. Oh, man. Somebody says waited in line in concessions for 2 innings. I will give grace to the stadium for that, though. It is really hard, which my dad and I have this conversation a lot. Where did all the people go? Because it's hard to find people to work these games. Where did they go?
Well, you mentioned the Atlanta Falcons who had lowered their concession prices, and I was reading an article that came out when all that happened, kind of like a few months after it happened, and what they experienced was the lines got better because people were showing up to the stadium earlier because the beer was cheap and the pizza was cheap and the hot dogs were cheap. Imagine that. So the wait time was less than 5 minutes to get into the stadium. This is an NFL stadium, where usually you have a lot of people show up. The other thing they noticed was an 88% increase in merchandise sales. You got more money to spend.
Exactly. So when you're not in the Superdome, it's $16 a beer is what it is. I didn't even want to go in the team store after that. It's like, you're taking all my money, right? My budget on, I wanted one beer to have at the game, literally just one. And it was $16.
This guy said, I fed myself and 3 others for $20 last year. This is at Mercedes-Benz Stadium at an Atlanta Falcons game. 2 nachos, a pretzel, 2 hot dogs, 2 souvenir cups, and we shared.
It's a real thing.
And they made more money doing it, but other NFL teams still don't do this, and obviously everybody else is deciding not to do it either.
Somebody says baseball will eventually be like football, just play the games on campus, and it will be more there, not to mention the schools will make more on campus. Midweek games are tough attendance-wise. They're not particularly well attended, even for Mississippi State this year is a bit of an anomaly, but you've had midweek games where, your crowd is great for 99% of college baseball, but not great for you. Just because it's Tuesday and it's an opponent that, you don't care about and things like that. But I think there's a benefit to going around the state, especially considering where Oxford and Starkville are located in the state. For those of you listening on the coast, LSU is closer than Ole Miss is, than Mississippi State is. So getting on a bus and going somewhere else within your state, I think, is a sound, call it an emotional investment to reach your fans, to remind them that you care about them. I've said often that I think even if it's just a practice or 2 in the spring or whatever, get in the bus and go to the coast. You got a great facility at Mississippi Gulf Coast. Have a practice or 2 there. Go see your fans that are down there. Go to them and show them that, hey, we care about you. We know you're down here. Here is Trinidad Chambliss right here on the coast. Because a lot of our coast listeners do go to football games, but, if you guys were down the road versus 5 hours away, are you more likely to go to practice? Of course. So I think that they should look into doing stuff like that because, you know this. You've been around the state. The coast is a mixed bag of fanhood.
Yeah. And they have a lot of other things going on.
They do. There's an ocean there.
There's always an event going on. There's something every single weekend. There's always concerts. To get their attention, you got to do something.
Yeah. Somebody says, I have a 21-year-old. He's the same as your 6-year-old. Yeah, you can't take a 21-year-old to a game and have him not eat anything for 3 hours. Take 4 grandkids to the movie with the wife. We'll drop $200. That's another American institution that's going away.
Yeah, the Mercedes-Benz prices, $2 Coca-Cola refillable cup. Wow. $2 hot dog, $3 waffle fries, $5 Bud Light draft beer, $2 water, $3 pizza slice, $2 pretzel.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Marty says all these players are now professional athletes. I imagine the ticket prices are rising to fund the rev share needed to pay them. Look, you are right on that. However, this is a thing that's been going on long before revenue sharing. And when I hear athletic departments say stuff like that, to me it's such a cop-out. Because the amount of, to use a political term, shout out Mornings with Richard Cross, the amount of pork that is in the budgets of these college athletic departments is insane. Next time, because they publicly have to release their spending. And I know that's not a very sexy topic for people. Well, the athletic budgets and where they're spending. Next time those come out, we will talk about those at length on this show, and you will see and they're making cuts places, but the overspending on things, the inflation of spending in these departments is ridiculous, and no business would operate the way that they do, but they're not a business technically. They're a nonprofit, but the budget goes up every year, and every year they make more money every year, and also the expenses somehow magically go up every single year as well. They, instead of trimming the fat, and they have done some of that, to their credit, they have, but you have sports on these campuses that are losing millions of dollars, and they just let that's just part of it. And they will tell you that's just part of college athletics. Now, it doesn't have to be, but then you have to admit that you're a business and not a nonprofit entity. That, to me, it's just hollow. It rings hollow to me when you are wasting
athletic departments with $200 million. They generate $200 million, but they're in the red.
Yes. You don't have to be. You don't have to be at all, but they choose to be. And that's the deal. Somebody says Governor's Cup tickets are double what the ticket prices were last night. I'm a big State fan, but I won't be going this year. Depending on matchup, midweek games should be free entry, first come, first served seats. Unfortunately, at a place like Ole Miss and State, you can't give away free tickets because the demand for season tickets is so high that if you chose to give away free tickets for midweek games, you lessen the value of the season ticket, and that creates an issue too. I like where your head's at, though, especially because most of these games nobody goes, but those are sold seats. I mean, Ole Miss and State sold out season tickets. You can't just give away a seat that somebody owns to somebody else. What you would like to see is the season ticket holders find a way to get them into the hands of, a youth baseball organization, stuff like that. Yeah. But it is their seat that they bought, so it's their right to not show up, I suppose. Somebody says you can still drink and drive in Mississippi, just can't be over the limit. Is that true?
It's not. The old saying was, it's not illegal per se. Your look on your face.
Hold on.
Hey, Louisiana's much worse. It's much worse. Drive-through daiquiris. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, you cross into Hammond on your way to New Orleans.
Yeah, you get one of those, and then they put the little paper on the top of the straw. The first time I experienced that, my mind was blown. I'm like, that's legal, what you're doing?
Somebody says $16 for a beer in the Dome, and they still expect you to tip. Oh, that's another rabbit hole we can go down.
Tipping culture's got out of hand.
It's nuts. Went to a soccer game, USA soccer game in Nashville at Geodis Park. I've talked about this park before. It is incredible. The innovation, everything, the efficiency, awesome place. I didn't have to take out my wallet, though. It's kind of weird. They have these self-service concession stands you walk through. You have to walk through a turnstile to go in, but you just grab whatever off the shelves, and then you walk through another turnstile, and you're paid. I didn't have an app, nothing. It just took money out of my account as I walked through the turnstile. I didn't approve, nothing. It just happened. But you still have to hit yes on the transaction. Is this dollar amount right? And then it asked me to tip. There was nobody working there.
So you're just tipping the computer, I guess.
Just giving the computer a tip. I walk through, grab the stuff myself. Nobody even takes a card from me, and it's like, leave a tip. And one of the options was 30%.
I've never heard of that.
It's insane.
Where they get me is when there's a human there looking at me in the face as they, say, hey, do you want a tip here? That's where they get me. When it's just a computer, it's zero, none.
There's a South Park episode about the donation thing on. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Sports Talk Mississippi. We'll be right back.
Your next customer.
I listen to it at work.
Sports Talk Mississippi. Sports Talk Mississippi on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Did you get that memo?
Yes, sir.
My favorite fact about Todd Rundgren, as weird as he is, brilliant musician, on his albums, he played every instrument.
He just banged the drum all day.
He banged the drum all day.
And played the guitar all day.
Played every instrument on his albums.
You know Liv Tyler?
Yeah.
She grew up thinking that Todd Rundgren was her father.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't she...
Steven Tyler's
yes, and she's in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She didn't... Liv Tyler was not her name, I don't think, back then. But she grew up thinking that Todd Rundgren, who I guess was dating her mother, was her father. She actually starred in, I know one, but maybe two Aerosmith videos with her biological dad, who she didn't know that was her dad. It was only later that her mother confessed to her, no, actually, Steven Tyler of Aerosmith is your dad.
Surely hope Steven Tyler didn't have anything to say.
Maybe he was happily married at the time. I don't know. That was after he got done with drugs, so I don't know. But yeah, that's the truth. Hey, she plays a stripper in one of the videos.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those people are weird, aren't they? By the way, on the text line, a couple people said you can drink and drive.
Not that we encourage that.
No, but you can't have an open container. So help me out with that. I mean, is it through osmosis? How do you consume the beverage?
I don't know.
How can you do that without having an open container? No, we don't recommend it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I'm more curious as to, okay, if you can, how do you do it then? Through a straw?
There used to be a lawyer who, I don't know if he's still around, but used to advertise that. That was like his slogan, and it was in North Mississippi. It was drinking and driving is not illegal per se. That was his slogan.
Okay, so somebody says outside city limits. Any city or a particular city?
I don't know about all that.
I mean, I know a lot of people that go to the Delta and drive on the levee and do their thing out there, so. Oh, my gosh. Interesting stuff. So, yeah, just cost of these games. I want them to continue. I think they provide a really good service, but hopefully some things change in the approach. And, I mean, again, you've got to have video in 2026. You've got to. I mean, I called high school football games this year, and you have small high schools that have elite-looking professional live streams of their football games. Mm-hmm. And not many people are watching them. It's mostly, uncles, grandmas, whatever, out of town. But they have a really good broadcast setup that looks outstanding. And if they can do it, ranked baseball teams should have that as well. And again, I don't know whose fault it is or it isn't. I just know that I sit back and I see. Again, I've got a friend who watches his middle school-aged nephew play baseball. So if they can do it, so can an SEC and a ranked Sun Belt team. That can happen. I want them to continue. But good win for Ole Miss last night. Mississippi State also gets a win. It's Samford. The Birmingham Bulldogs not having a particularly great season, but obviously Mississippi State's had a bad couple of weeks. And, it's Samford. But the fact that they just went over there and kind of beat the brakes off of them, run-ruled them 11-1 is, of course, a really good thing. The team needed some positive momentum. You had 5 different Bulldogs have 2 hits last night, so they hit it around a little bit. Teal, Reese, Sullivan, Stallman, and Fry all had 2 hits. Maluski had 1 mixed in there as well. 11 hits. 11 RBIs. 10 hits, 11 RBIs. And good start from Billingsley. Only went 3, but scattered a couple of hits. Miller was good. 2 complete, no hits. It is Samford, but a nice little momentum changer for Mississippi State last night. Had to have felt good to just go to the ball yard and play well and come home early and kind of get the stink of the last couple of weekends washed off you for a little bit.
Yeah, so now they go to South Carolina.
They go to South Carolina.
Has kind of turned things around a little bit since firing their head coach.
Yeah, they're not pathetic anymore. They were pathetic, and they're not pathetic. They beat Davidson last night for what it's worth. But how about Bethune-Cookman? They go to Baton Rouge, and they beat LSU, and that was kind of funny jokes. But then they go to Gainesville last night and win 13-7 over the Florida Gators, who vaulted way up into the rankings after last weekend. They may just be legit.
Break up Bethune-Cookman.
No kidding. You don't want to see them as a 4 in a regional somewhere.
I bet you next year nobody schedules them.
No. Elsewhere in the SEC, nothing really noteworthy happened. It was a pretty chalky night. No upsets other than Oklahoma getting beat by Oklahoma State. Now, that is a rivalry game, but Oklahoma's ranked 14th, got beat 7-3. Everything else went to plan around the league, so that is your baseball update. When we come back, I do think we need to talk about this golf story for a little while anyway. Some big news there, and I've got a mock draft to get to, and we've got this John David Baker audio as well. That's all coming up after the news. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
Can you feel it? Can you hear it? Sports Talk Mississippi.
Yeah!
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hour number 2, Sports Talk Mississippi. So glad that you are with us in the Pearl River Resort Studio. I'm Michael Borky alongside Will East. We got a lot to get to. I'm going to talk about this Live Golf folding story for at least a little while. Indulge me on this. Then we'll get to some football conversation. Arch Manning apparently was told he was going to be a first-round pick by NFL scouts, chose to stay in school. I think he made the right call. We'll get to that. I've got some cuts from John David Baker, Ole Miss's new offensive coordinator. And, of course, your texts as well. That's what's coming up on Sports Talk. What's up on Sports Talk is brought to you by our friends at Ag Up. I was actually cutting the grass this weekend before the Masters on Sunday, and I was thinking as I was pushing the mower and sweating, and my dog digs little holes in the yard with her one front leg, and I stepped in one and rolled my ankle, and I thought, you know, it'd be great if I could just sit on a tractor right now and cut my grass instead of deal with this crap. Literally and figuratively. Well, I should go to Ag Up, and if you're like me, you should too. If you just have a regular yard like I do, or maybe, you know, a weekend getaway or some property or hunting land or commercial property, Ag Up is where you need to go. They're calling it the Spring Tractor Blowout because, hey, that gives me credit for that. I don't remember saying that, but he's saying that I came up with the name, so I will take that. Right now, you can get a John Deere 3025E with a loader for just $365 per month and 0% financing for 84 months. If you've been thinking about upgrading your equipment or getting your first tractor, it's really hard. I mean, I think carry the two, check the math. Impossible to beat 0% financing. They will not last forever. Prices won't stick around very long. They've got 15 locations. You can find out where at agup.com, agup.com. Again, for your weekend warrior like me, for your weekend getaway, if you have some land, a hunting property, or more, Ag Up is where you need to go. All right, indulge me a little bit, guys. This Live story. So it started last night. A guy named, I believe his name is Ryan French, is his name, but he goes online by Monday Q Info is his brand. He used to cover the Monday qualifiers on the PGA Tour. He's a guy that built a brand on covering the small leagues, the lesser known leagues, and it's kind of been his thing. And last night he said, hearing some things about Live, if you can go to the prediction markets and bet on the under on how long the league will last, go ahead and take the under. And people ran with that, and reporting got a little bit more, I don't want to say illegitimate because he was right, by the way, but a little bit more detailed throughout the day. No official announcement has happened. They're actually scheduled to play this weekend in Mexico City, and that is operational as of this point. They're having press conferences, but because it's Live and they're Saudi-owned, only certain media can go, and the press conferences don't actually ask questions. It's just a PR video more than a press conference. You didn't get anything from those. However, the Financial Times was first, and now The Athletic has confirmed this, and you're getting more and more details. But LIV is backed by the Saudi Arabian government, and the Sovereign Wealth Fund is what it's called, is on the verge of cutting support for LIV. They released a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan today, and they didn't mention LIV specifically, but they said they want to focus on things that are more efficient and will get a return on their investment. This golf league famously does not make any money and has lost them billions, which is just a rounding error for that fund, but has lost them billions to this point with no sign that it will ever be actually profitable. They spend a lot. They don't make anything. But that is the reporting. An announcement on the future could come as soon as tomorrow, according to people familiar with the matter. Again, this is the Financial Times. They released that 5-year investment strategy today that will reprioritize their spending, is what they say. No final decision has been made, but it was also reported by the New York Times that executives within the league have actually begun job searches, that they are looking around, they are reaching out to other golf avenues to try to get, or other sports avenues to get a soft landing. LIV, the league, is currently desperately trying to find any way to continue forward, securing funding somehow. They've been trying to sell the teams as franchises for many hundreds of millions of dollars with no takers because there's no real value there. So it appears to be imminent that the league is folding. Apparently the players know nothing. The people that work for it know nothing. There was some kind of meeting in New York with executives, and apparently on the grounds there in Mexico City, it's being described as tense at the moment, as you can imagine.
They were burning through $100 million a month.
Yeah, that we know of. That we know of. I mean, I said it at the time. I have not wavered. I truly actually gave it a shot. I'm a fan of the sport, and I'm a sports fan in general. I tried it. And to me, it felt so Mickey Mouse, Disney World, unserious. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And other people didn't either, because the viewership, ratings, etc., they didn't materialize into anything. Nobody watched it. And the saddest part about it to me was, with the exception of when they would go to South Africa, because no golf goes to South Africa, so they had great crowds at their event. But you go put on Live Hong Kong, and there's 5 people following Bryson DeChambeau. And that's just ridiculous that is the setup that they created. But the worst part is, guys like Bryson, John Rahm, Phil, at the time, he was a bigger name than he is now, but they would completely disappear, with the exception of 4 weeks a year. Completely out of the public view, total irrelevancy until the Masters would come. And if they don't play well at the Masters, well, I mean, Bryson missed the cut. So you haven't seen Bryson play in months, and then he goes to the Masters and doesn't play perfectly, and then boom, he disappears again for another 4 weeks until the PGA Championship comes. So it's a bad product. It was bad for the sport. A foreign government and their oil fund was trying to destroy an American sports league. And there's a period of time where it felt like they may have a chance to actually do that.
Remember, they
announced the merger, yeah.
Somewhat merged. Nothing ever came of it, but they announced that.
They did, and nothing did come of it. And meanwhile, the tour's ratings are up. Their attendance is up. So it's been a net negative on the sport, in my opinion. Some people disagree, but it's been a net negative. Nothing has improved since it has come on board. And so now the question is, it's twofold. One, there's a local one. So here, if you want to make it worth your time, Michael Lasasso, Ole Miss national champion Michael Lasasso, who had an invitation because he won the national championship to this year's Masters, left his team at the halfway point of the season. That team won the Mossy Oak yesterday. National championship contender is Ole Miss this year. Left them halfway through the season to join Phil Mickelson's team on Live, and thus sacrificing his Masters invitation as well. I don't know the exact numbers. The assumption is he got a signing bonus of some kind, a 7-figure signing bonus to go there. So he got financial security to some degree. It's not, I saw somebody on Twitter was like, well, he got $30 million. No, he did not get $30 million. Certainly not up front. And whatever the length of his contract was, whatever the money was promised, when this folds, he's not going to get it all. And I wonder if there's buyer's remorse from his side about he left his college team halfway through a season in which they're a national championship contender, sacrificed playing in the Masters and all the things that come with that to play 5 events on Live and the league folds, and now his professional future in the sport is in doubt. That's tough. It's really tough. He chose the money route. I cannot blame him for that in a sport that you are guaranteed nothing.
Yep.
Fernando Mendoza is getting a whole bunch of money. He could be the worst quarterback ever, and he's going to get a bunch of guaranteed money. Lasasso was not going to get that had he not made this choice. But I imagine there's going to be a lot of regret from his side for doing this. And then what do you do with the rest of them? Brooks is already back. Patrick Reed is going to come back. He has to play the rest of the season on the DP World Tour before he can join. But the tour gave them a lifeline. Hey, recent major winner, you can join in this window. You can back out of Live and join in this window, we'll take you. And 2 of them took it. Rahm said no. Bryson said no. Cam Smith said no. What do you do with those guys? And what do you do with the rest of them?
They got some stars.
There are some out there. Names that people would know.
Bubba Watson,
But all but a small handful are actually in decent playing form. Tyrrell Hatton's in good playing form. But what do you do with them? I don't know. 601-879-4395. Sports Talk Mississippi. A few of your messages have come in. We'll turn the page after I read some of your messages and get onto the sports that are more of local interest. But it is a big story, and we'll continue on for a little bit when we come back.
Your next customer is
Mississippi is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
This is Sports Talk Mississippi, right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
(601-879-4395) is the text line. Actually got more than I was expecting, so we'll read these for a little bit. Jeremy says, I believe the Live guys struggle in the majors because they play against weaker competition on easier courses year-round. As you know, you have to have your A game and have some luck to win a major. You can't just show up and win. Yeah, I mean, I think there is great evidence to back what you are saying. The overwhelming majority of players that joined that league had their major performances decline since joining. They play on weaker courses. They, up until this year, only played 3 rounds. Even things like they're doing it in shorts, and they've got loud music playing throughout the course, and it's just unserious. And you look at what it took to win the Masters this weekend. That was, are you getting great prep when you're playing on a goat track with, Wiz Khalifa playing in the background? No, you're not. So it's abundantly clear that especially a guy like Rahm regrets his decision. He's been kind of grumpy ever since, and he's not playing well, I think in part because he's not tested anymore. Somebody says the difference is Mendoza's money isn't blood money that we know of. Unfortunately, the PIF is involved in it. They got their tentacles in everything. You'd be surprised at how much of American business is backed by Saudi Arabian oil money. It's something. Somebody says, totally agree on Live, nothing but bad. Bring back the true PGA Tour, make some rules on returns because they chose to leave, maybe have them qualify. I would. I really don't think that you can send Bryson and Rahm down to the Korn Ferry, especially because they're recent major winners. I have a feeling that they will open up a pathway for them to enter like they did Brooks, make them pay a massive fine, that kind of stuff. But for the rest of them, I mean, what do you need Charles Schwartzel for? If he wants to come back on tour, fine. He's got to go qualify through Q School on the Korn Ferry Tour again. And he's got to finish in the top 30 there or 25 there in order to get a card back, because he doesn't bring you anything. He doesn't bring you a single extra eyeball. He doesn't bring you anything. So you don't just welcome a guy like that back on. No. Mm-mm. I mean, a guy like Lasasso was not a previous tour member. So, yeah, if he wants to play on tour, sure. Yeah, you got to go through Q School, though. Good luck. And I would apply that to all of them, except for the recent major winners, because you've already established precedent to do that.
Yeah.
If you put them on the Korn Ferry Tour, Marty says, it would certainly make these tournaments more interesting. People would tune in. Another one, if the PGA hadn't been a rear end about it, it would have been different. LIV is no different than the other tours. I disagree there. Saudi money is all over the DP Tour, so anyway, it's hypocritical. To a degree, you're right. I mean, again, the PIF is invested in a lot of things. This was them owning the thing. And their entire goal was to completely upend and disrupt an American sports league. Well, I mean, Jay Monahan was a bad commissioner. But what do you want them to do? Just, oh, yeah, Saudi Arabian government, you could take all our good players, sure. Like, do you want them not to fight back and to not be resistant to something like that? And especially when it's a joke of a format that people don't like. And they knew that, and it was run by Greg Norman at the time. And, boy, he's a clown. And you don't want to participate in your own demise, which is what they were trying to do. They just failed at doing it, but they were trying. They offered Scotty Scheffler. They offered Jordan Spieth, Max Homa, Ricky Fowler, all those guys. They tried to end an American sports league. That was their goal, is to destroy it, not to partner with it. They only tried to partner with it after they knew they couldn't destroy it. So I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. What the heck is a Korn Ferry? It's the name of like an investment company, but think AAA for golf. Yeah. The Korn Ferry Tour. Somebody says, ready to hear Baker. You will for the college football fix at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Somebody says, I fault the PGA for creating this mess by allowing the LIV players to play in majors. That's not their call. So the PGA Tour does not control the majors. And I know it's confusing because, well, Michael, what's the PGA Championship? It's weird. So you have the PGA, the organization that controls and is the teaching pros at your local country club. And then you have the PGA Tour, which is something different. So the PGA Championship and the PGA Tour are not the same.
If those got PGA.
And they both have PGA in the name.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Tour actually does not control the majors at all. So it's not up to them. They offered Tiger. Yes, they offered Tiger. I mean, Scotty Scheffler could have gotten $500 million if he wanted to.
That's crazy.
Didn't Lasasso have an invite to the Masters? He did. He says, what a fool for turning that down for LIV. I mean, he couldn't have known that this was going to be the fate.
Yeah.
It's a little hindsight 2020 thing, knowing that it's folded now. But the fact that it is folded now really makes that decision.
I think it would have been a little bit different if, one, they didn't do this stupid teams thing, which I don't think people liked. They went with this teams format. LIV did. The other thing, too, is, like you said, the players on LIV never really, with these majors that they could play in, like, the Masters or whatever, they didn't win any of them, right? I don't think there was...
Rahm won... Bryson won the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Rahm won the Masters. So but their performances have gone way down.
So since 2021, when LIV first became a thing, you have 4 majors every single year. You've got 2 wins out of all that.
Yeah. It's completely fallen off. Cam Smith has completely disappeared. He's just totally gone. I mean, he was at the top of the world, won the Open, joins LIV.
If they won every single major or most of the majors, then you might have seen a dent. Because does the average fan care about the PGA brand? I don't think so. They care about the individual players. And 2, the courses being almost all outside of the United States also impacted it.
Yeah. Somebody says Greg Norman won 2 British Opens and 80-plus tournaments worldwide. Far from a joke. His career's not a joke. I think his behavior is.
Well,
his behavior's a joke. His career's not one. He was a great player.
You guys don't remember the Greg Norman that I remember because he was known for basically choking. That was his big thing. He won a few majors here and there, but he choked his way out of a lot of majors. In fact, I remember Saturday Night Live did a skit about him where they had him, a guy playing Greg Norman came out there and said, I'm changing with his Australian accent, I'm changing my mascot from the shark to the minnow because I get eaten by my competition. The whole thing got off to a bad start because of its connection with the Saudis. Mm-hmm. Greg Norman is an abrasive person, always has been. They tried to, take all these players, and it was in the middle of COVID and all that kind of stuff. It was just a lot of stuff going on all at once. And I would say, it didn't come back. It didn't, it wasn't like it was built from the ground up. It was built with a $1 trillion wealth fund.
Exactly. Unlimited money. It was not a real thing. But anyway, it's folding because they're not. What's fascinating, more on Cross in the Morning, they are reportedly citing the war in Iran as part of the reason why they are considering ending this. And I don't understand that. But that was part of the reporting, is that is part of the conversation is, guys, we got this to deal with. I can't sink billions into this failed golf league anymore. I got to focus over here. Something's happening in our region of the world. Yeah. That's taking up a lot of our time and our space and our energy. That was part of it. So anyway, thanks to Andy Staples for this, by the way. ESPN Plus, not a thing anymore. It's the whatever they changed it to. They charged him anyway, $130 for an annual renewal subscription for a service that does not exist anymore. If you were somebody that was paying for ESPN, go check your bank account. Go check it, because the people are getting charged, and make sure that you cancel it. So he actually put a link out there. All you have to do is go to the ESPN Plus page, but especially you Southern Miss fans, because that's where Sunbelt football and stuff airs too. It's not a service anymore, and they're still charging people for it. So get that auto renew off, because he was charged $130 for a service that no longer exists. So there's a PSA for you. I had to check myself. I forgot I don't pay for ESPN Plus. I pay for Hulu. And it comes with whatever the ESPN special thing is now. But when they created the new one, you had to create a new subscription. But they're still charging you for the old one that doesn't exist anymore. So heads up. PSA. Darren says, I got charged for ESPN Plus. There you go. They're charging for a service that they don't provide anymore. It's crazy. 601-879-4395. Sports Talk Mississippi. Arch Manning, a first-round pick. Why did he come back? Because he's smart. And we'll talk about that when we return. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
From the Seabrook Dot.
Hey guys, what's happening? What the heck are you doing?
Sports Talk Mississippi, on your radio and in the game. Sports Talk Mississippi.
I'm surprised at the engagement we got on a golf story. I appreciate you guys. I asked you to indulge me. You did. We are going to move on, though, on this Wednesday edition of Sports Talk Mississippi. So glad that you guys are with us, as you always are. Don't forget to text us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. When all guests appear on the show, they do so in the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. So, Arch Manning had an interesting season. You guys may remember, and this is just keep a mental note of this offseason, because there will be a metric ton of hype around a lot of guys, and it often doesn't work out that way, or somebody that you don't know may come out of nowhere. Like, Mississippi State's not going to get a whole lot of love at media days this year. Not a lot of people are going to talk about Kamario Taylor, and he very well could just ascend into stardom. Who was talking about Trinidad Chambliss this time a year ago? Although, as I've said before, there was so much coming out of the scrimmages that we even talked about it on this show some, where they had 3 scrimmages, 3 weeks in a row going into the season. And each time the reaction was, Simmons did some nice things, but God, this Trinidad, this Chambliss kid, he's lighting up the first team defense. And I was like, oh, that's nice. They found a good backup. Didn't really put it together that people were saying, he is better. He's awesome right away, and he's outplaying Simmons, and it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But nobody was talking about Trinidad Chambliss this time last year. But everybody was talking about Arch Manning. Heisman contender, number 1 overall pick. Texas is going to win the national championship. All of those things. And it didn't exactly go that way. By the end of the season, though, he was playing pretty good ball, but he didn't live up to the hype, which is okay, especially when he's going to get better as the season goes on. But Chris Lowe did a long feature about the young Manning, and part of that feature was the decision whether or not to go to the NFL and be a first-round pick. Scouts told Arch Manning that he would have been a first-round pick had he gone, or there was a high likelihood of him becoming a first-round pick had he gone, and he chose, obviously, not to go. He's staying at Texas. You saw some of this with the aforementioned Chambliss when he was fighting the NCAA in court. Well, why would he go? Why would he go? Or why would he fight this? Why would he stay? Because he can go and be a first-round pick. That is not the feedback that he got from the NFL, as we've told you before. Not a single person associated with the NFL said, you first-round pick. It was all, maybe the third. There was some feedback he got that was like, you might not get drafted at all. Try to stay in school, was the message sent from NFL people. Try to stay in school. Arch Manning, a little bit different. You can be a first-round pick. What does that mean, though? I guess is what I'm getting at. Long-winded way to say, forget money for a second. Arch Manning made the right decision. If you watched him play, he's not ready to lead an NFL franchise. He's not ready yet. And that's okay. He got better as the season went on, but if you watched him at all at any point last season, really shined in the last game of the year. But he's not ready yet. And that's okay. Because if he would have been a first-round pick, imagine this version of Arch Manning getting picked by the Jets. And by week 3, he's getting thrust into the starting role for the New York Jets or somebody like that. He's not ready to take that on, and it would have completely failed. And so when you read this profile and you see that conversation, I would completely brush it aside. At no point last season did I see a guy that's ready to lead an NFL franchise, and right or wrong or indifferent, because of his name, you would have had a Tebow-like mania around the second whatever guy, Justin Fields or whoever you're using to bridge the gap between the draft and Manning getting starts. The second he throws one interception, it's, what did you draft him for? Play Arch. And he would not have been ready for it, and it would have been a disaster. An extra year of college was the right decision for him, regardless if he'd have been a first-round pick or not. He wasn't ready yet, and so forget money, forget all that. From a football perspective, they made the right decision.
He struggled against bad teams last year. I think his worst game actually last year was against UTEP. If you go back and look at the stats. He did get better, but there was some games in there where I remember his game against Kentucky. Do you remember that? He was not good at all. I think he
was awful. He was awful.
He was awful. You know, he got off to that bad start against Ohio State at Ohio State. Which,
crossed the 50 once.
Yeah. And
One time.
Yeah. And then it seemed to kind of come into, you're right, kind of started coming to his own a little bit. Really?
3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, just 7 picks.
I mean, to be honest with you, that Mississippi State game, that crazy Mississippi State game was the one where he started to shine a little bit.
Yeah, last few games. So you mentioned Kentucky, 12 of 27, 132. Threw for 346 against Mississippi State, but a lot of people did. Lost at Georgia, threw for 250, touchdown and a pick. Arkansas, 389, 4 touchdowns, but again, Arkansas, who didn't. Texas A&M in the win, 14 of 29 for 179 and a touchdown, so that's 48% completions. But he was really good in the Citrus Bowl against Michigan.
Yeah.
221, 2 touchdowns, ran for 155 yards in that game. Michigan had no answer for him, but it was a mixed bag, and there's still a lot of growth to be had there. And so he's sticking around.
And I suspect his family probably told him, his grandfather went through a lot with the New Orleans Saints and advised his youngest son not to go with a bad franchise. That's why Eli didn't end up with San Diego, ended up with the New York Giants. And I bet they probably, said, you're not ready yet. You don't want this. You don't want to go to a team like the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Because they've seen what happens there.
Yeah, somebody says, sounds like Grandpa Manning knew what he was talking about before the season last year when he said Arch had 2 more years at Texas.
He said that?
Yeah, he said that, he was not, don't put him on your draft board because he's not leaving. It sounds like he knew that he wasn't ready, more so than no matter what. Look, if he'd have been perfect last season, he would have gone. He's not physically ready yet, or wasn't. You think the Mannings would have let him go to the Jets? Another person asks. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe they would have played hardball and gotten him to...
I remember that very well. I mean, they did not want Eli going to a franchise where he was going to struggle because Arch went through that his entire career.
Somebody says he's a Manning. He doesn't need the money. Well, to be honest with you, in this day and age, it doesn't matter how much family money you have. You're getting it.
Yeah.
Trinidad Chambliss' parents seem like wonderful people. I don't know if they have generational wealth or not, but even if they were the poorest people on the face of the earth, their son's getting $5.5 million this season, which it's crazy, that number. The Saints quarterback's going to make half that this season. Half.
Insanity.
The starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints is going to make half that. And, more on Cross in the morning, capitalism is what it is. I mean, there was a demand. That's not you can call that an inflated number, but he is worth what somebody's willing to pay.
The players that are getting that type of money are absolutely worth it. Now, if some, backup defensive back, maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, think about the return on that investment Ole Miss is getting.
And that's what the market demands.
It's what it demands. Now, Sam Levitt getting 6 from LSU, I don't know what market demanded that, but it's not a market that I want to shop in. $6 million for Sam Levitt. He better be awesome. Not going through spring. What's funny is he was like Lane's 6th option. He didn't want Sam Levitt. He wanted Sam Levitt at all. He wanted Trinidad, but couldn't get that done. Wanted the kid from Washington, couldn't get that done. Wanted Sorsby, couldn't get that done. Had to throw a Hail Mary at Sam Levitt to stop him from going to Tennessee because when he was on his visit, he found out that you were trying to get Damon Williams to enter the portal from Washington. It made him mad, so he left. So then you had to overpay to get him.
Didn't he find out during a basketball game or something like that?
Sitting on the floor at an LSU basketball game is when he found out that Damon Williams was going to enter the portal.
A message or something.
Somebody took a picture of him on his phone. Like, what the hell? He's doing what? And so he left. That was hilarious. And in Lane's defense, he almost pulled that off If not for contract language, he did pull it off. But I guess Washington's lawyers are good enough. 601-879-4395. Sports Talk Mississippi. So glad that you guys are with us. We'll be back in just a bit.
Your next customer.
Okay, let's go. To the junction, in the grove, and to the top. Don't hurt yourself. Sports Talk Mississippi on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky, Will East with you. We got this on the text line. It's a screenshot of the confirmation that former Mississippi State basketball player Jamarian Davis Fleming is off to Alabama. A prized recruit for Chris Jans is headed his way east. And the screenshot came with this message. Is Jans done in Starkville? Feel like if they can't win this next year with Hubbard, he is gone. Bad luck that you can't keep your star freshman and lose him to somebody you have to play twice a year. He is a complicated case, Chris Jans, because it depends on how you want to look at it. Two sides of the same coin. Went to the tournament in his first 3 years at Mississippi State. No other coach has done that. But now he's gone 4 years without winning a tournament game at Mississippi State. That is, I think, unacceptable. If he does not win, it's complicated though, right? Because if he makes the tournament this coming season, he's not getting fired, I don't think. But can you go 5 years without winning a single tournament game? Portal class is starting to take shape. Had a nice addition this weekend, but no, I'm with you. I think that he should be coaching for his job this season. This past year was kind of a disaster. They have not capitalized on the presence of Josh Hubbard yet. We've got some nice wins, but like even their tournament seasons, 8-10 in the SEC. Nothing exciting, right? Nothing that you can really grab onto in the Jans era and think, heck yeah, do you remember how much fun that was besides one regular season night? You don't have a stretch of weeks where you had incredible, awesome play. You didn't make a tournament run. You didn't get to Sunday in the SEC tournament. None of those things have happened. You've got Josh Hubbard and then the whole kind of mixed bag of, yeah, that's good, but there's not just, yeah, that's good. To use a local comparison, last year's Ole Miss basketball team was awful. Right? We talked about it a lot. Yeah, they won 3 games in Nashville, but it was empty calories. Like we talked about on this show, that's what I called it. It was not a particular popular stance, but it was empty calories. I didn't give into the, look at how proud everybody is of the team. They played so hard. They won 12 regular season games. There's nothing to be proud of in that when you spent what you spent to get that team. But 2 seasons ago, the run of the Sweet 16 that's just objectively great. Like there's no but. It's just, yeah, that was an awesome season. They made a great run. Man, they were a player or two away from going to the Elite Eight. Probably should have, if not for foul trouble early in that game against Michigan State. But you have that thing that you can grab onto of, yeah, that was great, period. Everything with Jans in his time at Mississippi State is, yeah, that was good, but. Yeah, that was good. They went to the tournament, lost. Went to the tournament again, lost. Went to the tournament again, lost. And then had a disaster season. There's the but that comes with it that clouds the way you look at his time there. And, yeah, he's coaching for his job this season.
I think what's happened is the league has simply gotten better.
It has.
You look at the year before he was hired when Ben Howland was the head coach. Here's the SEC standings from the bottom up. Georgia was the worst. How good are they now? Ole Miss was next to last.
Ole Miss has a top 15 budget in the country for basketball.
Missouri, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. The teams ahead of Mississippi State were Florida, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Alabama. All those teams got tremendously better. I mean, Florida won a national championship in there. Alabama has been to a Final Four. All those teams have really done much better, and Jans is he's struggled.
It's an unfortunate reality of the sport, but what you do in March is the only thing people really care about. Because, 68 teams make the thing, so making it is an accomplishment, like you're happy about it, but it's also, it's hard, but it's not impossible. And so it's not about just getting there. It's about what happens when you get there. People one state over in Alabama have been doing the, I think, incredibly stupid debate of, would you rather win the NIT championship or go to the tournament and lose in the first round because Auburn won the NIT? The answer is go to the tournament. It's a crazy debate. But if you don't make any noise in the tournament, what do you look back on those seasons and remember? Those 2 weeks are more important than the previous 12. It's crazy.
And then when you have a season or two where you don't make the tournament.
For Ole Miss and State alike, the basketball season was over in late January. So, tough right now. Evaluating the portal is paramount because the momentum with the programs just don't exist right now. It's crazy how kind of equal they are at the moment after bad seasons. College football fix coming after the news. John David Baker had a couple of interesting things to say. We will play those for you and talk about them when we come back.
Your sports. This is Sports Talk Mississippi.
Sounds good.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
All
Giants. One less giant than he used to be in Jelly Roll. He and Post Malone will be making a stop this summer in Vaught Hemingway Stadium on the campus of Ole Miss June 5th. That's a Friday, June 5th. That is coming up faster than you'd think. If you'd like to go, it might cost you, but you could win tickets for free on us. Joining them in Oxford will be country music singer Carter Faith, by the way. Go to supertalk.fm to find a registration location to you, and you could win tickets on us. Jelly Roll, Post Malone in the Vaught. This giveaway is brought to you by Legacy GMC in Laurel. I'm Michael Borky. He's Will East. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. John David Baker spoke to the media. That's right. Under Pete Golding, you can hear from assistant coaches. And, there's a new offensive coordinator in town, and you actually get to hear what he has to think about stuff. There's a couple of things that he said that stood out the most to me, so we will play those for you and react to them together for the College Football Fix. College Football Fix is driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealer. I know baseball is on the brain, but I know summer projects are on the horizon. I've got one myself. I got to replace the boards on my deck. You've got something, I know you do, and you should start that with an F-150. They're spacious, too. If you got a family, you might think truck, not efficient for all of the kids and soccer practice and those things. Oh, no, there's plenty of room in the F-150 for your weekend project, lugging the kids around town, or if you just want to feel good in America's best-selling truck, go by your local Mississippi Ford dealer and test drive an F-150 today. So, John David Baker, he was the, I guess, co-OC and tight ends coach at Ole Miss before he took the offensive coordinator job under a defensive head coach at East Carolina for a couple of years. He gets hired again back to Ole Miss by Pete Golding, and he met with the media for the first time since taking that job. One of the two things that he said that stood out to me was centered around, he was asked about terminology, and it was, the offense, how different is it? What do you pull from? Because that's been a big talking point is, there are some things that you want Pete Golding to change, make the program his. They've gotten rid of the basketball goal. That's probably a thing that they need to change. I think they're going to be more, is economical the right word, smarter with how they use running backs, not putting Kejuan Lacey in the game in the fourth quarter of which you're winning by 5 touchdowns, that kind of stuff. Subtle changes here and there. But the offense works. It really works. And it works with the personnel you already have. How much of that is going to change? Here was John David Baker's answer to that.
No, it's a mixed bag. When you, over the time here, over 6 years, you're talking about starting in 2020. So you've got Coach Kiffin terminology, you've got Levy terminology, you've got Charlie, some of our stuff from USC. It had grown to a mixed bag of terminology, a lot of different languages in that from different systems. And so when I left, just tried to clean it up a little bit. It was not a wholesale change or a massive change, but it was just trying to uniform certain concepts and make sure that things made sense. And so I would say 80% of it is exactly the same that it's been, but it was not a wholesale change. I think it's things that help clean things up and make it a little simpler.
I personally like the sound of that. 80% the same. And every coordinator is different. If you think that John David Baker is going to run Charlie Weiss / Kiffin's exact offense, that's just not a realistic ask of somebody that it's his own thing. He's gone out on his own and was really successful at East Carolina running the offense, again, by himself with a defensive-minded head coach in there as well. But, like I said before, you don't want to do, frankly, guys in Arnett. And there's been a lot of comparisons here in this state anyway between Pete Golding and Zach Arnett, and state fans think that it's just going to end up the same way. Arnett's biggest mistake was not sticking with some things that worked and understanding the personnel that you have. I think from listening to Pete Golding talk over these last few weeks and hearing John David Baker, dance with the girl that brought you. The offense works. It's explosive. It's fast. You've got personnel that already knows how to run it. Baker's not Weiss, so there are going to be some differences. But when you hear the phrase 80% the same, I think you should really like the sound of that because you know it works. Don't change what works. I've said before, I think the red zone offense is going to look a little bit different. And of all the great things that Lane and Charlie did offensively, they weren't good in goal-to-go situations in the red zone. They really struggled in that part, so maybe a change is good there. But it is going to be a very similar offense. It is going to look the same. They are going to go fast, et cetera, et cetera. I think you should be really encouraged when you hear your new offensive coordinator say something like that.
That was the problem, as you said, with Arnett. But they kind of promised that it would be the same, but it wasn't.
They said a lot of things. And I guess it's family members of Will Rogers have come out and been not too pleased about what was promised versus what was delivered that year. Here's the second thing. Speaking of Charlie Weiss Jr., this is fascinating to me as well. Maybe you guys will agree. He was asked about that period of time where he was hired as Ole Miss's offensive coordinator, but he wasn't coordinating the offense because Charlie Weiss Jr. was still around coordinating the offense during the playoff run, and what that experience was like for him, sitting in the booth, being next to Charlie in all the meetings and everything, but not being the official offensive coordinator yet. Here's what he had to say.
It's the craziest time in my career, definitely. And I've jokingly told people, but it's the truth. I mean, this is the only building in the country that could probably handle a situation like that. And also, Charlie handled it like a pro. I mean, he was the ultimate professional and obviously did a great job throughout the playoffs. And he and I have a great relationship. We worked together for 2 years here. But it was weird because at the end of the day, next year I'm going to be playing against that guy. But my whole deal when I came was, relationships. How fast can I get to know the guys in the room from a retainment standpoint? And then once it got going, longer and longer throughout the playoffs, and I started to have a more predominant role in the coaching side of it, I want to help these guys win. Like, this is where I work now. And so it was kind of weird because I felt like I had 2 seasons in one last year. That month and a half of the playoffs felt like a full season, just with everything that went on from a player retainment standpoint, the portal, and all of a sudden you're game planning for a couple of the best defenses in the country in Georgia and Miami. But it was an interesting time. It was an interesting time for sure. It was, but it was a good experience because it was an advantageous experience for me because I got a jump start on learning the guys on the roster, and that was the thing that shocked me a little bit. You're gone for 2 years, but that's college football right now. When I came back in last year's roster, there were 3 guys on the offense that even knew who I was. I mean, that's the kind of turnover that we had here. And so it was good for me to get reacquainted with the guys that were in the room.
Obviously,
So that is there's a lot there. The last part, in 2 years, he went from obviously knowing every single player to knowing 3 players on an offense. In 2 years, that's all he was gone, college football in the modern era. The player retention piece is an interesting part of this because although despite I can't make out the logic in this. There are people down south of us that say that Kejuan Lacey was going to go to LSU, but then Ole Miss beat Georgia, and then he couldn't go anymore. That makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Every program in the country would have waited until the end of time for Kejuan Lacey to show up to their campus. So that doesn't make any sense at all. But what the playoff run in winning those games allowed to happen is John David Baker to, as he said, establish relationships. If Pete would have dragged his feet on that hire and not had his new OC in the meetings, at the practices, building those relationships, proving his concept to them, you may not have had the player retention. You may not have kept Deuce Alexander. You may not have kept Kejuan Lacey and Luke Haz and all of those guys. But he got to be there for a month and a half, showing them, building a relationship, and then those guys were like, I don't want to leave. I like this guy. I like what his vision is for me. I think without that time period, you may have seen players leave. But instead, getting to sit there is why they were it's a huge part of why they were able to retain players. So him speaking on that, truly, I mean, it was a bizarre situation. We talked about it at the time. Thinking about it in hindsight makes it even stranger. That, I mean, Ole Miss's and LSU's offensive coordinators were sitting next to each other in a booth during a playoff game. Working together at the time. Very odd, but without that experience, things might have been different. So good on Pete Golding for moving fast to bring John David Baker back to Oxford. Sports Talk Mississippi, that's your college football fix, driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealer. Don't go anywhere.
Your next customer is searching online right.
The friggin' wax out of your ear. Did you hear me?
This is Sports Talk. Sports Talk Mississippi.
Woo! I say, sports fans.
Now, here's more on Super Talk Mississippi.
Sports Talk Mississippi knew that this text was going to show up. Zach said he was keeping the offense the same when he took over. Complete lie. I mean, because we spent all season saying that. Hey, he said he's... And you had a roster that was built to run the air raid. It doesn't mean you have to run the exact Leach air raid, but to completely go away from what worked was a mistake. And that's a needle that Pete Golding needs to thread as well. Make it your own. It's your program now. It's not Lane Kiffin's program. But a lot of what Kiffin did worked really well. And so what from that worked, and then what from that can you change while maintaining your level of success? I think they can do a better job in high school recruiting. Too many quality players from this state have gone somewhere else. Mississippi State, we've talked about it with you before. Jeff Lebby really needs to do a better job within the state, getting the top players in the state. I mean, you've got guys in State's backyard that are committing to Ole Miss, too. I mean, it's not, you're not losing them to out of state, you're losing them to your in-state school. And
Mississippi State has about 4 football factories within, a county or 2 over from them. Starkville High, West Point, Noxubee County, which, they've done good there, and then Louisville.
Yeah, and getting Womack was big last year, but, I think even the most maroon and white glasses State fan would admit that they can do a better job there. And as we've gone over a few times before, I think it proves more and more true every single day. Even in this era, you are more likely to keep players from your state on your roster. And I keep hammering that home because people are just so dismissive of high school recruiting. But look at both defenses at Ole Miss and State. Look, Kelly Jones, Isaac Smith, William Eccles, Centarian Perkins, Cam Franklin. All of those guys could have gone and played football anywhere. William Eccles could have hit the transfer portal and made more money than he's going to get paid by Ole Miss this year. Now, again, don't get it twisted. He's going to get paid a lot of money to play football this year. But he could have leveraged the portal. LSU made a offer to him that when you hear it, the offer was made. I just have no idea how they would have been able to pay it. Just stupid money was offered to him, but it's not going to go. Why? Because he's a Mississippi guy. He wants to play there. Kelly Jones could have leveraged the transfer portal and gotten 7 figures. If he's not getting 7 figures from State, from any program in the country. A lockdown cover corner? God, those guys don't grow on trees. But he stayed where he was. So I think that, I don't even know if it's anecdotal evidence anymore. I think you just see that in-state players are more likely to stay in-state. Not all of them, but they're more likely to in the portal era.
That's an advantage.
So I think Pete Golding needs to do, and he's built a staff that I think he is telling you without telling you with the staff that he has built, they're going to try to do a better job in recruiting in the state of Mississippi.
And it's more difficult to build with transfer players. You know that.
Yeah, and you can swing and miss. And running back 2 years ago, they had Henry Parrish, who was a hit, but they ran him like he was Derrick Henry. And then after that, what did they have? They refused to play Bentley and got a guy from the Sun Belt who was really productive in the Sun Belt, but they refused to play him for some reason. And so a walk-on was RB2. And so that even during the successful years, they won 10 games that year, but there was portal misses, and there you go. So it's risky, but there is so that needs to, I think, change, and he's already shown you that he's changing it. You can get a little bit more serious, like the basketball goal. You don't need to have that. That didn't help you win a game. That didn't help you get a single player. You can be a program that is light and has fun without having a basketball goal on your sidelines. You don't need to have that. So little things like that. I think being more open with media availability, assistance, stuff like that helps. That doesn't impact winning. That doesn't change winning. But it's something that can help connect people to the program, stuff like that. But you've got to figure out how to make it yours without sacrificing what made it good.
That media thing, it gives them ownership of the program. Mm-hmm. That's what I've always believed. That's why I was so perturbed, I guess, by Lane Kiffin's stance on that for so many years, was that, these guys, they come and, as John Everbaker just said, they come and go. Within 2 years, you're, so far removed from the program, no one knows who you are anymore. But when they speak for the program to the media, it gives them some ownership of it.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
I truly believe that.
And then it prepares them for the next level. Hugh Freeze kept Laramie Tunsil out of the public eye, and then Tunsil gets a first press conference where he gets asked a question that he's not super comfortable with, and he has no idea how to answer it.
Yeah.
You shield these guys from media, and then they don't know how to do media, and then they go to draft interviews, and you can do some prep, but, you've heard the stories about the NFL draft and what these guys are asked in these meetings. There's a a famous question. I don't know if I can word it to make it PG enough, but a player was asked what his mom did for a living. And I think you guys can put 1 and 2 together in a draft interview. Now, that's not all of them. But they put you, sometimes they overstep, and that player, they overstepped on that player. But you get asked questions. I mean, they put you at a table, and coach and executive and all these guys are there, and they try to poke. If you got arrested once in college, buddy, they are going to test you. I've heard from interviews where they did it to try to see if a player would get flustered. Yeah. Intentionally, hey, they poke you and they poke you and they poke you to see how you handle pressure. And if you never give them a chance, then they're going to go there and fail, which ultimately turns around and reflects negatively on your program too. So it's a thing that everybody should do. They choose.
And two, who is the media going to hype preseason? Are they going to hype the team that is behind a closed door, who you don't know anything about them? They won't utter a word unless it comes from the head coach himself. Or are they going to hype the team that allows access?
Yeah. And then you get quotes like from Deuce Alexander. He was asked, hey, your coach left. Why did you stay? Because I wanted to build a legacy right where I am. And you send that to your donors, and it hits them in their feels a little bit, and they're willing to drop a little, that kind of stuff. Almost like a job interview, Borky. Yeah, I've had job interviews in my life. The NFL draft process is a little bit more intense than a job interview. But you're exactly right, though. I mean, my dad, he's retired now, but he would tell me that, he'd interview people, and they would have Harvard degrees, and they would go in the interview, couldn't even look at them. Yeah. They'd answer questions looking up at the sky, looking all around. And then you get a guy from an SEC school that would know how to shake hand and yes, sir, no, sir, and look him dead in the eye, and that's the guy that gets the job every time. Yeah. So you got to the ability to talk actually does help open doors for you, and I don't know. Somebody asked if we ever got the truth about Bentley's playing time or lack thereof. We have not. No, that will never make sense. And it's not like Bentley was, the greatest running back of all time, but he made an NFL roster. Clearly, he was serviceable. And
that touchdown he scored against Mississippi State.
And LSU.
Yeah, and LSU. But that one against Mississippi State especially, because I think it was a long...
They lose that game without him doing that.
Yeah. That was just like vindication.
And maybe he's not the difference between making a playoff or not. I don't know. But and we called it out at the time, so it's not a hindsight thing. The volume of gaslighting that went on during that whole... I remember after he got into it with Ben Garrett. Not the first time. Because Ben finally was like, I'm done playing around. I'm going to ask you, why is he not playing? And Kiffin pulled him aside as he's just not good enough. Okay, so you're playing a fifth-string wide receiver and with all due respect to the young man, a walk-on who is not only undersized but not athletic enough to play in the SEC, but that's who you were playing ahead of this guy. It made no sense. And
do you remember Jim Nagy, who's now the general manager of the Oklahoma Sooners, but at the time ran the Senior Bowl? Do you remember what he said before the season?
NFL scouts wanted to see Bentley more than Judkins because of that speed. And there were things he did in the Gator Bowl, catching the ball out of the backfield, making moves and stuff that no other running back on that roster was able to do. That is one of the more head-scratching things that happened during that time. They had so much success, so many good years, but that 2024 season, between the Kentucky game and whatever that was offensively in that game, and wherever Lane Kiffin's head was during that time, was not where it should have been. Not playing Bentley, the meltdown in Gainesville, that was a weird year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They made the playoff a year later. But there's a chance they got bailed out by a Division II quarterback that they did not expect to play a single snap, and Austin Simmons would have lost 4 games or 5 games even, and we wouldn't have had any of the conversation that we're having about the program. Sports Talk Mississippi. We'll be back in the Pearl River Resort studio.
From the Seabrook.com.
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Are you ready?
On the SuperTalk app, supertalk.fm, and always on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station.
If Trinidad Chambliss never starts a game for Ole Miss last year, how many games did they lose? Because I'm counting Arkansas, LSU, already lose Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida. They were down late with him. And there was no indication. It was early, but there was no indication that you would get the kind of play from Simmons that you got from Chambliss. None. I mean, I really think 4, if not 5 losses are on the table for that team last year had Austin Simmons never gotten hurt. I was a guest on a Missouri podcast not too terribly long ago, and they asked me about that. And I said, super talented, seems like a great kid. I would be really concerned about readiness to be a starting quarterback in the SEC because it's not fair, but in 2 starts, there was nothing that told you that he was ready to win big games in the SEC a season ago. Nothing.
That Georgia series where he comes in 2024, he was cool as a cucumber in a very bad situation. And so I think that was the hype really with him. And of course, he's super smart and great arm and he's a lefty and all this kind of stuff. But he had the turnover bug. And even remember he came in which game was it? Was it against South Carolina where he came in and threw an interception or had a fumble or something like that?
So threw an interception in the Citadel game and then had a fumble in the playoff game.
He just had a tendency
turn the
football over, forcing some throws. You go back and look at that Kentucky game, those interceptions that he threw early on. It was just forcing the ball where, NFL quarterback would just throw that away.
Yeah, window wasn't there.
Yep.
And Missouri has to come to Oxford this year,
and Trinidad He's got the exact opposite deal.
Doesn't turn the ball over.
He doesn't turn the ball over.
And, in the Arkansas game, his first start had to be literally perfect. He was perfect that night. Had he not been, they lose. And they still almost lost.
Yeah.
If not for a forced fumble there.
T.J. Daugherty.
They would have. I think they would have. Arkansas still would have had to punch it in.
They were going in there to score.
They were not getting stopped in that game. So, maybe it's an unfair characterization to call it a bailout, but I think that they got bailed out by an injury last season. I really do. Because there was nothing about that team that would have made the playoff had Simmons never gotten hurt. And maybe eventually, if he kept turning it over, they would have gone to Trinidad, but there was no indication of that either, even though he was getting outplayed in practice. Makes you wonder what would have been had not for that injury.
And see, Mississippi State had a similar situation where you had the veteran, but his wasn't injury, really. He did get hurt somewhere in there. But I think Levy should have just pulled the plug on Shapen.
After the Florida game, absolutely.
Much earlier than what he did. And some of those games could have salvaged him.
601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. Hey, if you run a small business, can you be found online? That's the most important thing. Nobody just shows up to a business anymore. They look you up first. Anytime I see anything driving down the road, restaurant, whatever, I look it up first. With the power of SuperTalk, STMM Digital, but it's a SuperTalk offering. You can reach potential customers and get more referral and repeat business. STMM Digital's highly trained and trusted staff is ready to work with you to help your business capitalize on the power of digital marketing. Here's the phone number, 601-991-2305 or stmmdigital.com. Again, if you are a small business anywhere in Mississippi, we can help you be found online. There's nothing worse than looking up a business or a company, restaurant, whatever, and seeing a Facebook page that hasn't been operational in 3 years. There's just so much opportunity there for you. So check us out.
Hey, I wanted to ask you this about the NFL draft. Do you feel like this year is going to be, or it has been, a little bit of a kind of ho-hum? You already know who the number one pick is going to be, and that makes it less interesting already.
And at best, you're getting one more quarterback to go, and that's Ty Simpson. I mean, and that's the position that everybody talks about, right? If you had 3 or 4 quarterbacks, I think there'd be more buzz. But there is a lack of. I mean, we're a week away tomorrow.
That's what I was saying. You mentioned earlier that you're going to have that your guest on tomorrow for about an hour to talk about NFL draft. And I was like, oh, it's next week, or the weekend, something like that. And I was like, I haven't even really looked to see what some of the teams that I'm following are going to be doing, because the player hype is not there. Mendoza's interesting, but it's just not. It's not exciting like it was the last couple of years.
I mean, now that I think about it, I can't remember a draft that has had less buzz going into it than this one. And, I mean, I guess the Cowboys are going to trade up, and people are talking about that. And come draft night, I guess there might be some drama. But the lack of quarterbacks, the lack of quarterback-needy teams also, that you have less desperation, I think, in this year's draft than in years past. But I'm with you.
I mean, 2023, you had Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. You had some other quarterbacks taken, some other interesting players. Year after that, you had a ton of quarterbacks taken. Last year, you had some local flavor with Jackson Dart, but you had Cam Ward. You had the Travis Hunter deal, which was incredibly interesting because he was a two-way player and a Heisman Trophy winner and all this kind of stuff. You had a lot more interest, I thought, last year. This year, it's just boring, it seems like.
Do you guys feel the same way? 601-879-4395. I am fascinated if you feel the same. And especially in this state, we don't have any potential first-round picks.
No, that's another thing.
I mean, I think DeJon Stribling's going to go first among the Mississippi guys, but saw a 2-round mock today where he's not in the first or the second round. Brendan Thompson's going to be Mississippi State's first receiver selected in a long time, as you guys know, but that's not Thursday. I mean, the Saints pick at 8, and it seems like a consensus at this point. If Bain's there, they're going to pick him, and that's, I mean, from a football perspective, exciting, I guess, but I mean, he's a good player. Like, I will be happy if that's the pick. You had that's it.
The other thing, too, is I know this is the NFL draft, but you don't always have all the bad teams picking early. Like last year, you had the Patriots, who went on to have an incredible season, but you had some other teams in there that you're kind of interested in. This year, the first 4 picks are the Raiders, the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Titans. Boring.
Especially,
I mean, does anybody care what the Jets are going to do at 2? No. Even Jets fans don't care.
Even Jets fans don't care. Oh, man. Shador Sanders fell off the table. Somebody says that. I mean, that was another one, too.
That was the story, right? That was
Shador.
That was the story of the night. But
Mel Kiper just absolutely losing his mind for 3 days. And then he ended up being a Pro Bowler despite throwing 2 more interceptions than touchdowns. Somebody says, who cares about the draft? Saints fan speaking right now. We're just going to take some offensive linemen from Honolulu like the past 4 years. I agree he's turned out good, but golly, it's been awful. When we got Shuck, I wanted to end it all, but now I feel like 2011 Breeze is coming back. But here's the thing about those two offensive linemen that the Saints drafted in the first round, 2 tackles. They're good. They're good. They were both hits, and so now you can get more creative. You have to do the boring stuff sometimes in the draft in order to build a foundation to get fun. And so, I mean, you're set at offensive tackle, and they're both on rookie deals. It's a big deal. And that allowed you in free agency to go get that guard from Buffalo, for example, lock him down. That was a big addition, and you can do that because you have 2 tackles on rookie deals. You got your quarterback figured out, so now you can go, Bain, and then, the second round of Concepcion is there from A&M, and suddenly those boring drafts with the offensive linemen feel far less boring when you can parlay that into what you have this year. You got to build a foundation first. I'm with you, boring picks. But this year, you have the flexibility to make it a little fun. We'll see. Sports Talk Mississippi. A few of your messages have come in. We'll get to those as we wrap the show up with you when we come back.
Your next customer is
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Introducing to you
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your boys. We'll get wild, wild, wild. Wild, wild, wild. So you think I got an evil mind? I tell you, honey.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. One more time with you on this Wednesday. So glad that you guys are with us. And so the draft, I'll be watching reruns of 2.5 Men like always. But now, if you can't get excited about the draft, I think that says more about you than the draft, my friend. Although, I'll be honest. I like 2.5 Men.
It is a great show.
I do like that show.
With Charlie Sheen, not with the other guy.
Oh, yeah, when they brought Ashton Kutcher in, that was... And then the way they killed Charlie Sheen at the end was horrible.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Dropped a piano on him. Sorry for the spoiler, but, it's been done for a long time.
Like, seasons 1 through, 5 or 6 are awesome.
Somebody says, I agree with you guys. It is a really boring draft this year. Does it relate to NIL now with more players staying in college and getting paid there? Now, that is interesting.
I think this year's just an anomaly.
It's a bad year for quarterbacks. That's the biggest part of it.
But you had Ashton Genty and, you had other interesting storylines going on in the NFL draft. Whereas this year, you look at the first, the top 5 picks, and most people don't know who they are besides Fernando Mendoza, unless, they're for your team. So maybe this year's just an anomaly. But normally I love it. I've always loved it. And I liked it more, I don't know about you, but I liked it more when it was just over the course of a weekend. The first couple of rounds were on Saturday, the last couple of rounds were on Sunday. I do not like the current format because you have to wait so long for it to get started, and then once it gets started, it goes by pretty fast, and you get, then they draw it out so much.
They have, I can't believe they've done this. They must have gotten some bad ratings numbers at the end of the draft because they've reduced every pick down to 8 minutes in the first round. So they've cut a literal hour out of how long the first round is going to take next Thursday.
Really?
And the only reason for that is if they were losing money on it somehow. So they did that because the ratings must tank in the final hour of the draft. Because the first round does take forever. My goodness. The year that Walter Nolan got drafted, so 2 drafts ago. No, last year's draft.
It was last year.
Last year's draft. Did the podcast after the draft, and I didn't start recording until 11:45.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And by the end, it's just all the momentum is gone. So, they're cutting a full hour off of how long the first round's going to take next Thursday.
They're out there singing the national anthem, and they're doing concerts and flyovers, and all, they're making it as big. And last year was in Green Bay, right? memory serves me correctly. It just took forever. Whereas, back in the days when it was on Saturday and Sunday, especially Saturday, I mean, you get your coffee because we're about to go drafting, buddy. Yeah. Get ready.
Somebody says Diego Pavia drama will be entertaining with his family. Yeah, the Pavia family is an interesting group. I mean, the same principle can apply with the Sanders distraction with Pavia. Now, it's different. Pavia's family is not primetime, and his family won't come with a media circus like Shedeur does, but he's not good enough to have drama following him, which is part of the Sanders deals. Not only was he not prepared for interviews, but all the crap that comes with his existence rubs teams the wrong way. Just wait until your 6th round pick. He is so short. He is so short. And I'm not being mean. It's just true. He's that size does not play quarterback in the NFL. So he's already a prospect that does not you don't really think is going to last on your roster anyway. And then he's going to come with family that's getting in fights in the stands and causing problems and stuff like that. I mean, it's very easy to pick the other quarterback that's available in the 6th round because you know that you're not going to have crap to deal with when it comes to that. And he's kind of abrasive anyway. His teammates at Vanderbilt loved him, but again, that was when he was the alpha. He will never be the alpha on an NFL roster. So can he put his head down, put his hat low, and read a clipboard? Because if he can, he could stick around. But if it's going to be the abrasion, drama, family getting in fights, teams might not want him around.
I don't think they will.
I don't want him around New Orleans. I like Pavia. I don't want him around New Orleans. He's just not worth it because he's not going to play, so he's not worth it. I don't want that drama around my team right now. Give me Taylor Green. That's who I want backing up Tyler Shuck. I'll take Taylor Green. Give me that guy.
He's interesting. He's got such a tiny frame, though. I wonder, long term, can he hold up? But, man, he's got the talent.
He's so athletic.
He's got the talent.
And you can run some wildcat stuff with him sometimes and just let him run.
And he's one of those guys where he just seems to always get positive yards when he gets outside the pocket.
We will break down the draft tomorrow from a Mississippi perspective. That'll be the entire 5 o'clock hour, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for making our show a part of your day wherever you are. Thank you for being here. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Good night.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.